Morning and welcome to today's webinar, Deploy JD Edwards Integrated Mobile Apps to iPhone, Android, BlackBerry, and Windows Mobile. My name is Glenn Johnson. I'm a Senior Vice President here at Magic Software Enterprises, and I'm joined today by Ryan Beck, Senior Consultant with Magic Software. Welcome, Ryan.
Good morning, Glenn.
And welcome to all of you. We thank you for joining us on today's doubleheader. We'll also be talking about JD Edwards upgrade best practices for integration in our 11 o'clock webinar today. So we invite any of you who are also following that topic to join us with a separate webinar invitation for the 11 o'clock webinar. Let's go ahead and get started. We just wanted to share briefly with you today as we get into today's topic that we will be presenting a live demonstration. Ryan's going to be talking to us about Magic's mobile technology towards the end of today's webinar. We have a one-step technology which really allows you to tackle both the challenge of integrating JD Edwards to your mobile apps as well as building those mobile apps on a custom basis for your specific business requirements and needs. These are both metadata-driven solutions, so ease of use is at a very high level. The business analysts and IT staff can work at an abstracted level rather than at a very detailed level, and therefore there's no line-by-line programming required in order to achieve these solutions. As we look at today's topic, we really wanted to remind you, because many of you are familiar with the Magic XPI integration platform. It's being talked about in the 100-day upgrade workshops and so forth around the country, particularly as it relates to the ability of the Magic XPI integration platform to do what we'll be talking about in our next session, which is aid you in your upgrade process by smoothing out integration both to your current JD Edwards implementation as well as to your upgraded system. But the integration platform goes far beyond having benefits just at upgrade time. It also, of course, provides the benefit of being able to bring that JD Edwards information bidirectionally to your mobile apps, and so we'll be talking about that today. So in those JD Edwards sessions, we talk about how you can integrate to hundreds of different systems. You can do it using a visual drag, drop, and configure approach, which is code-free, allows you to really build and monitor your integration and business processes with one tool set, as opposed to overlapping and confusing middleware choices that are out there. Also, there's just great validation for the use of the Magic XPI with both JD Edwards World and JD Edwards Enterprise One. Tim Litlock of Mizuno, for example, mentioned that Mizuno's e-commerce integration kept running with near zero effort when they upgraded from 8.10 to 9.1. And so this is just one example out of hundreds, but there are dozens of these that we'd be happy to go through with you should you be looking for further validation of that. Many of you, however, are not familiar with the Magic XPA application platform, and that's really the other part of our one-stack technology that allow you to build applications. And the ability to build those applications for mobile devices is what we'll be focusing in on today, and obviously very important. The drive to enterprise mobility is impacting all sorts of companies, not only companies that run JD Edwards, but really the economy at large, as the way we do business is changing. It's suggested that this is going to be, a $173 billion market by 2017. That by 2015 there should be some 89 billion downloads of apps taking place. Mobile apps have a compound annual growth rate of some 12%. There's huge increases in the mobile workforce that are driving the adoption of the use of mobile apps for business. People simply need to do things when they are away from the office. And smartphones and tablet purchases are on the increase as desktop and laptop sales are flattening. And so we really see this demand around the world, particularly in developing markets, as something that is causing JD Edwards users to come to their IT organizations and start asking questions about what can we do on our mobile devices. We need to have these business processes in place. And we'll be talking exactly about how you can do that as a company that runs JD Edwards and be able to mash things up. Now, when we talk about mashups, maybe that's confusing. It's like, are we talking about mashed potatoes? No. When we're talking about a mashup, we're talking about the ability to take different applications in your IT environment, combine information from each, and expose them in a mobile mashup, which is a single unified mobile application, very specific in its functionality, that allows your users to get just the information they need. And mobile apps are fundamentally different in many instances in that they are often location and context aware. They know where the user is. They may take advantage, therefore, of the GPS. They may take advantage of the camera on the device in order to add application functionality that just simply wouldn't necessarily make the same kind of sense in the context of a desktop or a laptop user. So we're very excited about what people are doing with mobile apps today, and we see that it is really creating a kind of a liberating force in what's going on. A mashup provides a unified presentation, as I said, of one or more sources, and it really allows you to create a variety of different kinds of applications moving from a technology standpoint to an applied technology standpoint. And so the application of it can be in consumer areas where you have consumer mashups, and a lot of people are kind of used to doing this by sort of compositing the way that their Facebook timeline looks for them, for example. There are data mashups, which are simply taking information and allowing you to display consolidated information in a single feed, for example. There are enterprise mashups that actually go to various enterprise applications and display them, information from them in a single unified interface on the desktop. And then the ultimate of what we're talking about today is the enterprise mobile mashup, where that mobile app can actually be pulling information from your ERP, your CRM, your supply chain management, your logistics applications, product lifecycle management, the whole array of enterprise software that you might have in your organization, and choose just the specific piece of information that's relevant to that app, display it in 1, 2, 3, a limited number of screens typically in order to make it usable for that mobile user. So the compelling question is, are you chained to your desktop? There are just too many of our users, our line of business managers, our C-level executives who are saying that IT systems are not doing what they want them to do because they're, as we know, they're designed for completeness, they're designed for thoroughness, they're designed for accuracy, and that's good. That's the way it should be. Because desktops are stationary, we can do that. But laptops are mobile, and they're inaccessible, in many contexts. And so laptops alone do not provide us with the mobility that we typically need. And we all know that business-critical processes run 24/7. And so many of our customers are complaining that the interfaces that they have in their current IT environment are not enough to satisfy their users, and that they need mobile interfaces. We all know, for example, that for the users of JD Edwards World, what that green screen environment looks like, what it means to be utilizing that type of interface. But even for those who have web access to their applications, they're seeking something more in the mobile environment. And so we can talk about customers like Cleveland Golf who have taken that integration challenge and have overcome it. Cleveland Golf created an IREP application, which is a beautiful app that allows them to integrate information using Magic's XPI integration platform, taking information from JD Edwards, displaying it in an iPad app, and then bringing information from their iPad app back in. It's a mobile app that's really a sales order catalog and order entry app that's used by their field sales team when they're on location in a store environment. So it's running on an iPad, as I said, and just has a beautiful interface. It's something that allows the user to, show off the catalog, lets the customer, who in this case would be a store manager, a sporting goods store typically, to select the items for the order, get detailed information in terms of sizes, left hand, right hand, all of the unique business rules. And this is why I think it's so important that we understand that the one-size-fits-all mobile app just isn't going to work for every business. Every business is unique. The way you order products, the way you display those orders to your customers needs to make sense for your industry and really for your company and your product line. And the nice thing about an app like this is that as the catalog is updated, the app can update automatically and receive the updated information for the orders, and you have a very nice visualization, menuing systems that really feel like they should on an iPad and provide a great visual summary of the information and the order before the final order is placed. All the things that you would want it to do as a beautiful app. So the question then becomes, how do we end that problem of mobile isolation for our companies so that we can also present, these highly salient, usable applications to our users? To end the problem of mobile isolation, we need to realize that our mobile users lack JD Edwards access. And simply putting, all of JD Edwards Enterprise One onto an iPad is not going to be a solution. We don't probably want our sales team to have, a JD Edwards license running on an iPad. That wouldn't be a beautiful, efficient way to enter an order, stand in front of a customer, show them what we have. It's just not the right interface. And so the kind of mobile solutions that are out there on the market today are typically insufficient to meet the real demand for mobile apps. And these mobile apps do need to be a little bit customized, but they can't be huge projects. They have to be manageable apps that can be created in a short period of time by small to medium-sized companies that are of the typical size of a JD Edwards user on up to large enterprises. And they need to be able to access the process-critical details that are in non-JD Edwards systems as well. If they're using Salesforce.com, if they're using an e-commerce platform, if they're using a third-party CRM systems and so forth. So it's difficult for an IT department to do this, however, if they don't have the right kind of technology backing them up. It's difficult to support all smartphones, to have the programming teams to do that, all of the tablets that are out there. And so you end up with broken business processes if you can't get this task accomplished, where you have too many systems, too many screens, too many broken promises to your users. Well, as we look within our organizations, then we know that we want mobile apps. The question is, what mobile apps does your organization demand and require? And that requires a business analyst in your organization to be doing some use case interviews, to be able to really find the low-lying fruit, which is going to bring the best business benefit to your organization, so that you can introduce very salient mobile apps, highly usable, that bring the results that your organization is looking for. So as we look at mobile business processes, as we look at mobile business processes, we really start to ask, where is that critical point where we might actually want to introduce some kind of mobile interaction and communication into the organization. So let's talk about what some of those are. Obviously, as we look at business processes related to JD Edwards, we're typically talking about processes that lie within 4 areas: opportunity to order, from order to cash, customer care related processes, and procure to pay related processes. Now, as we look at those 4 areas, there's a whole spectrum, a 360-degree view that we can get of our business if we start to think about what's going on in these various areas. And as we looked at the mobile apps that are most commonly required, we realized that these are some of the areas where people really are looking for the ability to provide customer-facing, Salesforce-facing, field implementation and service force-facing apps, apps in the warehouse, apps for remote employees, and apps for our on-the-go employees who are normally perhaps in the office, but often are outside the office and need to access those apps as well. And so we're looking about things like the ability to look up customers, to be able to enter orders, to be able to track orders, to be able to provide field service with the dispatch and the field knowledge databases, the parts databases, the asset management and inventory capabilities, project management capabilities that a field service team needs while they're in the field, and the corresponding application, of course, that you already have, perhaps running on the back end with processes in JD Edwards and even sometimes third-party applications. Warehouse management is a big requirement where people need to be able to do inventory, to be able to pick and ship materials. Remote employees often need to enter information, provide feedback, things like time and attendance reporting, paid time off, expense reports, benefits inquiries and requests, and so on. And so these employee self-service type apps on mobile devices are becoming very popular as well. And then there's just a whole category of sort of apps that are often requested by executives and others for approval processes, for dashboard views of what's going on in the organization, for access to ERP-related documents, purchase approvals, service requisitions and approvals, and so on. And then finally, our customers, to say probably the most important area for last year, is customers need to know where are you, where can I find you, where are your store locations, where are your retailers that carry your solutions. Can I order online? Is there an in-commerce app, a mobile commerce app for your solution? What if I need help and service? Can I get that on my mobile device? Can I track my orders and see where they are, what the status is, and so forth? And so these kinds of apps are often very customized for your organization, but they're also tied to JD Edwards, to information that's in the back-end system. And so very important to look at all your business processes and ask yourself the question, where's the low-lying fruit? What kind of apps do we need to create and provide to our customers first? Unfortunately, directly from Oracle, there are only 3 apps today. And so you're typically going to need to do something else, like enter an order, which isn't currently available. And you're also going to need to do it for multiple devices, Androids, in addition to iPad and iPhone, and perhaps even BlackBerries. Quite often in many organizations, you'll have to support Windows Mobile. And so there's that whole need for cross-app platform kinds of capabilities. So the JD Edwards M apps that we're talking about from Magic Software really work off of a mobile app specification. These are plug-and-go solutions that are customizable, gives you a bidirectional JD Edwards integration capability, bidirectional Oracle Edge applications integration, things like Agile PLM and Primavera and so forth, and bidirectional third-party application integration to things like Salesforce CRM, Microsoft Dynamics CRM, and on, SharePoint and so forth. And that you can utilize a common server platform that gives you the ability then to deploy those apps on a cross-platform mobile device basis so that you can support the Androids and the iPhone. And they comply with loosely coupled service-oriented architecture kind of approach, which is very important to the maintainability of those apps over time and the integration of those apps. And we're at Magic Software really excited about a program we're calling 30 Days to App, which means that from the time that that specification is agreed upon to delivery of those mobile apps, we're looking at a 30-day process, and so sometimes much less. And so that's really exciting for our customers to be able to say to their IT organization, once we know exactly what we want, or their business organization rather, once we know exactly what we want, we have a partner through whom we can deliver an affordable app based on commonly used technology in the JD Edwards community. So what are those specific process areas within Opportunity to Order? In Opportunity to Order, we're looking at things like mobile lead visibility, where your sales team wants to see incoming leads, your marketing team wants to distribute incoming leads and assign them from their mobile devices. Mobile CRM activity, contacts, activity notices, to-dos, and tasks that are accomplished. Quote approvals, where you need an approval process. Order acceptance processes that need to be notified. So these are some Opportunity to Order related kinds of processes. Commonly, you'll be mashing up with other systems, maybe the CRM system if you're utilizing a third-party CRM rather than Enterprise One CRM, and of course if you're using World, you don't have real CRM solutions. So that's commonly going to be a mashup candidate area. In the area of order to cash, there are a number of application requirements for mobile apps, such as a mobile product configurator. We saw, for example, the iPad sales catalog from Cleveland Golf that's integrated to JD Edwards, and that's a very nice example where they're really, configurating based on criteria that are very specific to their product catalog and product line. Mobile product catalogs and price lists are very popular, as are the ability to then directly enter the orders. But there are other areas like billing approval, aging reports, RMA approvals, billing dispute management that you may have a need for in your organization. Depending upon your type of business, some of these rise to the top as equal in importance to the more common requirements such as order entry. Now, again, you're going to have in the order to cash area not only CRM integration where you've converted the order, the opportunity to order, and therefore you have an order that's incoming from the CRM system in some instances, but also cash management kinds of interfaces with your electronic banking providers. Now, in terms of customer care, there are 3 examples here. There could be 100. I just wanted to limit it. But things like service ticket review on your mobile app, customer service routing from a mobile app for a service manager, and very importantly, the customer service knowledge base is something you often want to have on a mobile basis. So all of these can be handled by people in the customer care arena as part of the business processes. And here again, you'll be interfacing to back-end systems, perhaps specialized customer care systems like Click Software or BMC Software's Remedy, or even basic service capabilities that are in that, like Salesforce.com. And then finally, we look at procure to pay, where you may have mobile need for PO approvals, invoice validation, and even managing exceptions on invoices where you have dispute invoices and cash disbursements approval can be part of that procure to pay process where you want those mobile authorizations and approvals to take place as well. So it's really a matter of not only being creative, but being sensitive to the needs within the organization and aware of what your users are asking for on their mobile devices, and then finding a way that you can create that solution and deploy it effortlessly across multiple kinds of devices that the users in your organizations already own and have access to, and that your company may in fact already be paying for multiple kinds of devices. Those mashup candidates in the case of procure to pay are really all over the map, just all kinds of systems that we might be talking about. We interface to in terms of both supply chain, logistics, distribution, and cash management sorts of areas. So as we look at these mobile solutions and really try to think about how we could build apps that are interactive, that are attractive, that provide the needed information from the back-end system, that provide those key performance indicators that users have, we really want to start thinking then about how do we get that deployed in a beautiful way that's a native way for each of those devices. Well, there's this thing called a MAP, a Mobile Enterprise Application Platform. It's a category of solutions available today defined by Gartner, and Gartner calls this category of mobile enterprise application platforms, defines it as development and deployment framework that provides tools for client, server, and middleware for mobile. And it's targeting any mobile application on any device, ranging from a smartphone to a tablet, multi-channel, and offline capabilities. And so Magic Software, of course, is the only company that's offering a MAP platform and also strong JD Edwards integration solution where we're multi-year platinum and gold sponsors of Quest and involved heavily in the JD Edwards community, members of the JD Edwards Alliance, and so forth. And so enterprises are telling us that they need to plan to develop for multiple platforms, that they have requirements across a wide variety of uses, both for customer-facing apps, employee-facing apps, and partner-facing apps that run on multiple devices. And so in many organizations, this leads to fragmentation fragmentation of your development efforts if you don't have a new platform. It would mean, for example, that you would need to have at least 4 client languages, a server-side language, transport and communications solutions that leads to line-by-line coding, the use of multiple debuggers, and so forth. It can become way too complex. And so this dream of enterprise mobility is one where we just think we can be on the beach and using our apps. We can go anywhere, do anything, and happily perform our current jobs. But the reality of enterprise mobility is often quite different, that we're somewhere else for a reason. We're frequently multitasking. We're often in transit as we're utilizing these apps. And so the picture that results is quite different. Unfortunately, people have tried to respond to the need for mobility by doing what I call a mashdown, literally taking the entire J.D. Edwards Enterprise One application and making it available on an iPad. Personally, I think that's ugly, and I apologize to Oracle for saying that, but I just really believe that that's not what 99% of the people want or need. They need a discrete mobile app that does the one thing that they need to do while they're on the road, while they're operating the snow blower in the snow, or while they're sitting on the beach, or hopefully, or whatever it is that you're doing. But you don't want your entire system. You could use a laptop for that. You could go to the office for that. You want specific functionality that makes sense for you to be engaging in the context of your being out in the field. And quite often, we just don't want our users to have that full Oracle license just for their mobile device for those few limited functions that need to take place. We just want them to interact with our data, and our data happens to be sitting in the back-end system in J.D. Edwards. So templates have then been proposed by many as the solution. The problem with the template is it means that everyone is served the same thing, and so your business processes start to look like everyone else's. Think back to that Cleveland Golf app that we showed you in the beginning, where you had left-handed and right-handed columns, and you had the various sizes of the clubs and so forth. That doesn't make any sense in the context of your business, more than likely. I mean, that's not the way you would do it. So templates alone are simply not going to really solve the problem. And what you really need is the ability to customize very quickly. And so rather than trying to mash down all of this functionality, you need to keep in mind the context shift of mobile. The mobile context shift is more than just a change in scenery. It's a change in the intention of the user. What the user wants to do with a mobile app is very different from what they want to do when they're sitting at their desktop. It's field-based. There's often customer presence. What I mean by that is that, think again of the Cleveland Golf sales catalog. That iPad is often shown to the customer. They're literally looking over the shoulder of your user as they are entering the data. We've all had probably the experience by now of having someone put an iPad in front of us as they operate the app on the iPad, just to show us what's going on, kind of like the old, clipboard approach to interacting with someone. You hold the clipboard, you're making notes and writing things down, but they're looking over your shoulder and interacting with you. It's a great approach, very different paradigm. And it's often also location informed, which means that the choices that are available can very much be based on where you are in terms of GPS location, so that it already knows what's closest to you in terms of giving responses. And finally, it's camera ready, meaning that if you need to take a picture, confirmations, and so forth, you have that capability in the device. And it just wasn't a capability that was there before. And so with new possibilities come new approaches to solving business problems and new attachments and new documents that we would need to be aware of and prepared for. And so this is what we mean when we talk about a context shift in approaching the development of mobile apps. We need to put on a slightly different thinking cap as business analysts in the creation of these applications, because people have also less time. They can't have 10, 12 screens that they need to navigate through in order to accomplish a specific task. They have a poor attention span in these situations because there's usually something else going on when you're mobile. There's greater urgency. I need to do it now. And I need to leave the unimportant details out in some way. I either need to leave it to others, i.e. or leave it to myself until later, or I need to have the system assume those answers by using default values and settings, and allow me to set preferences and remember my preferences so that every time I come back in and use that application, it knows where I want to be typically, and it starts me from that spot. So if I've typically navigated to the fourth screen before I've had any meaningful interaction for the last 12 times that I've used that mobile app, the next time I use that mobile app, I would like it to start on that fourth screen. And that's just one of the things that you can start to think about building into the business logic as to how you approach an app like this. So there are barriers to getting this done. How do we hurdle those barriers to enterprise mobility? The problems we've been talking about. Fragmentation, so many different kinds of deployment environments, sizes of screens and tablets and smartphones and all of that. Even versions of the operating system within Android, for example, are different. How can we deal with all of that? Second barrier is integration. How can we deal with the barrier of integration? I need this system to not only run a mobile app, but to be connected to my back-end systems. And thirdly, how can I do it in a way that's customized, that makes sense for my business, for my users, and that's changeable and manageable? And so you need to be able to avoid these multiple programming environments. The J2ME for BlackBerry, the J2SE, Java 2 Standard Edition for Android. Objective-C is used for creating iPhone and iPad apps. Windows 8 now takes us to the JavaScript and HTML5, but there's still some .NET in there. What's going on with Windows? Can we afford to create a sales order entry app running on all four of these environments if we had to learn all of those programming languages, have experts in them, maintain and support this application? For 99% of the enterprises out there running JD Edwards, the answer is no. So you have to have another way to be able to support multiple devices, and that's what we're talking about today. The ability to do native development without resorting to those program languages. So the business issues remain when you're developing using these native languages. If you were to, say, develop an Objective-C, you still have to think about the context shift, finding the right business balance, finding the critical functionality only and kind of exposing that, using the broad capabilities of the system, but focusing on that critical functionality. And it can become very costly, and the effort can be beyond the capabilities of internal resources if you have to do all of that manual programming. So we want to avoid that. We want to avoid those templated approaches because, first of all, they tend to be single-purpose, they're inflexible, they're not loosely coupled, they're non-SOA compliant, they lack third-party data integration capabilities, and simply fail to meet business needs. So what you need is that customizable approach of a Meet platform. In general, these are the benefits you'll get from Meet. First of all, the support for multiple devices. With a cross-platform approach, you can write the application once and deploy it to many devices, taking advantage of the capabilities of each of those user interfaces so that an iPad app looks like an iPad app and a BlackBerry app has its keyboard support and looks like a BlackBerry app. It needs to be repository-based, leveraging the existing code that you already have so that you don't have to do rework, allowing you to work with smaller development teams so that you have a faster time to app, and getting that look and feel in a native way so that you deploy an application that will have acceptance among your users and adoption. Magic's XPA application platform and Magic's XPI integration platform deliver you advantages in that they're metadata driven. You have the reusability of the platform capabilities itself, so you never have to program those low-level routines and details that otherwise are a part of creating mobile apps. The paradigm itself is much more productive, and it is end-to-end. There's never any native coding or debugging required. You don't even have to buy the debuggers for all of these various languages that we talked about, the Objective-C and all that. It's just not needed. It's cross-platform. You write once, you deploy it to many solutions. It is native, so that the deployment process as well allows you to take advantage of all of the ways that you can deploy those applications, the app stores, the enterprise servers, downloads, and so on. And it's a proven platform that addresses all enterprise needs. If you also need a web application that mirrors the look and feel of those apps, you're going to be able to do that with a nice RIA application running on the web. It has these native clients with the expected look and feel. It's completely scalable based on an enterprise server background, and because it leverages the Magic XPI integration platform as well, you have the most complete integration of any MEP platform in the industry. So overcoming that integration gap, that gap between the mobile device and the enterprise systems, is crucial. It just makes common sense that you need to avoid the challenges of integration, because otherwise you have bad information coming in because it's not integrated. You know, it's the old garbage in, garbage out syndrome. Common sense tells us that, you know, data silos lead to fragmentation of information, duplicate data entry, and just wasteful approaches to business. And it's very important as we look at user acceptance that we think about how that user interface is looking at for our users. And provide these references for you on user acceptance and information integration, but just suffice it to say that when information in the back end is integrated to the app, rather than having disconnected apps where you have data silos in place, your acceptance rates, your usage rates of those applications go way up. And there's scholarly research to back up that finding, as well as experts in the industry like Denise Draper from Microsoft, who are telling us that enterprise information integration is really taking us into this area of metadata management. It's something that Magic in its XPA and XPI platforms is known as a leader in the industry in these areas. So how do you create that J.D. Edwards mashup? Well, by utilizing Magic XPI, you have pre-built adapters and resources for all of the applications shown here and many, many more. There's no line-by-line coding required. You have a visual integration design studio that extends the capabilities of J.D. Edwards, simplifies development and maintenance of integration to those third-party applications. Just before I hand it off to Ryan, I want to invite all of you to the Magic Software Users Conference 2013, which will provide a deep dive educational environment into the use of J.D. Edwards and the ability to integrate and build mobile apps. This is at the Encore, the Wynn in Las Vegas. It's 3 days of Magic XPI for J.D. Edwards education. The rooms are $149 per night, so you can check in for the conference. It runs June 3rd through the 6th. And the conference rate for your registration is $595. We've got a detailed agenda that really takes you, there's a half day of general sessions, and then it's all Magic XPI track. We'll be looking at big data. We'll be looking at in detail at the iPad sales catalog, the Cleveland Golf story, the building mobile apps that extend ERP data and functionality. We'll have workshops on the second day on Tuesday, developing with the Magic XPI Studio, advanced data mapper techniques, optimizing your Magic XPI projects, working with business critical SharePoint, and then on the final day, looking at the Durrell Juvenile Group integration case study, looking at what every IT manager needs to know about J.D. Edwards, lessons learned from Toto and logistics integration projects, what every IT manager needs to know about J.D. Edwards reporting and analytics, AP automation and logistics, what every IT manager needs to know about J.D. Edwards security, archive and purge, and hosting, and how to build a better J.D. Edwards mobile app. So these sessions, I think, are really ideally designed to take us beyond where we are just here today in this short webinar, and hopefully allow you to get a hands-on glimpse of these solutions. But you probably want to just at least see it, and so that's why Ryan is here. And so what we want to do at this point is invite Ryan to show his screen. So I need to...
I'm raising my virtual hand.
Raise his hand and respond to it. Thank you. Oh, his hand is not raised. And how do I actually make you the presenter now, Ryan?
I'm not sure. But while you're working on that, what we're actually going to show you today is a new demo. We're kind of proud of it. We've created a mobile application that will connect all the way back to JDE and show a customized application that can go ahead and have that full connectivity with an actual iPhone device. So I'll go ahead and share my screen now. In a second, you should be able to see it. So, and we're going to go ahead and be able to get data all the way back into JDE from the mobile device. Now, since I couldn't figure out how to hook an iPhone or an Android up to the GoToMeeting, what we've got here is an emulator. It's an iPhone emulator running on a Mac Lion. But it could have been a BlackBerry, it could have been Android, could use the Android emulator, it's actually pretty flexible on what we could use. And what I'm going to go ahead and do is instead of playing with Facebook or Google Apps or something like that, I'm going to go ahead and move this over to here, and I'm going to launch a Magic application that's on this iPhone emulator. It's actually more of an iPod emulator because we can't make phone calls with it, but it's all right. So while it launches, you see the cool graphic. The reason is because it's a Magic native client. This is not HTML. This is actually a native iOS application that's running iOS 6. And it has a look and feel of a native iOS thing. It's not, you're not going to have weird web forms. You're not going to have to scroll. You're going to actually have something that's designed for, say, your screen size. It'll scale correctly. The controls will work natively. Also, it'll have access to the camera or to the GPS or to other applications on the iPhone, as well as the ability to save local data. So, like, for instance, if there's anything you want to be able to cache that you would need to use later, that'll be available to you. So this is an example application that I believe could be used by, say, like a pharmacy rep that may go and need to sell medicines to doctors and things like that. So they need to be able to keep track of their accounts and their products and things like that. So if I go click the products button, it'll launch into and show me the different products that are available. But today we're going to go ahead and be able to get into JDE through the contacts. Now, I'm going to click the contacts button. It'll launch an application that shows me the contacts that I have currently. And you can see there's a lot of test data we put in. But I'm going to add a new one. And before I add it, though, I want to show you something. I'm going to switch screens to my JDE Enterprise 1 environment. And this is just basically an E1 server that we have here at our site. And I'm going to go ahead and see if there is a Glen in our E1 environment. And there's not. So we got a lot of other stuff in here. There's tons of other contacts. But if I look for a Glen, we have no Glen. So I'm going to go ahead and get him into there. But instead of me just typing it in and that being boring, I'm going to switch back to the iPhone. And I'm going to add a new contact by clicking this button. And then this button. It launches into an application that allows me to do this. So I'm just going to go ahead and type his information and add it in. I can certainly type a lot faster with a real computer keyboard than I can with an iPhone keyboard. I express no warranty that any of this information is accurate. Well, so let's be able to spell our city correctly.
Sometimes I feel like I live in Lasagna Hills.
Yes. Bingo. So what I'll do is go ahead and before I do anything, I'm going to go ahead and save this. And after a couple seconds, what you'll see is I'm getting some debug warrant messages here because I wanted to see what it's sending, because this is a demo in progress. But after a couple seconds, I'll come back to JDE, and I'll refresh it, and you'll see them pop in just like that. That happens in the background through a Magic XPI server, which is called the JDE business function. Also, because it's a demo, I also have up here a little warning that told me that the JDE address book record was created as 74042, and it was also created in Salesforce, but we're not worried about that for today. So I was able to get the information here from anywhere in the world on my iPhone, anywhere with a data connection, all the way back to JDE that quickly by calling a business function. If I drill into it, you'll be able to see it'll have all the same misinformation that I typed in on the other side. Garbage in, garbage out, right? But you get the idea. And that's basically showing us how we can go ahead and create a custom app. Now, this application is not a template. It's not something that you have to use or would want to use or whatnot. It can be entirely created on the fly. So we have a development environment for that, which I'll go into briefly because I don't have a whole lot of time here. We only have another 10 minutes or so. But behind the scenes, what made that work is something called the Magic XPI Studio and also the Magic XPA Studio. And the difference is XPA is the application that creates the application that runs on the mobile platform. So this is Magic XPA. And here we create custom applications. I would just need to go in and I create forms like this. Like this is the products demo we saw earlier. So you can decide where to put your product number or where to put a description of your product, or you can drag new fields over and put them wherever you want. And while it looks kind of black and whitish here, once you deploy it to a device, it looks actually very beautiful. Now, the great thing about this is once I've created this one time, I can deploy it in many different ways. It can be a Windows client. It can be it can be deployed to iOS. It can be deployed to Android. It can be deployed to BlackBerry simultaneously, all with the same license. So it's those are all what's called a rich internet application, where the client runs a native, basically a native application, either Android app or iOS app, that then connects to the server that downloads the metadata that says how the application should run. Where are the buttons? Where are the forms? What are the, what are people allowed to click? What data can they see? And the server manages the connectivity to get to the data itself and just has the client itself. So there's a lot of benefits to that I won't go into quite here yet because we want to do shift gears and show you what this was how this leveraged Magic XPI to be able to get to JDE. So I'm going to go behind the scenes a little bit more, one layer back. And now we're in the Magic XPI Studio. Magic XPI has a lot of different components and adapters that we can use. And what this did is this provided a simple REST-based web service that called a JDE business function and also Salesforce simultaneously, as an aside, in order to get the data into JDE. So in this environment, all we did was we'd say drag the JD adapter over, dropped it on a flow, said OK, and then it has a new icon here we can configure. And you just go in and you decide what business function you want to run. So you can search for, I'll have to make a search because I don't have it cached already, but it's going to go out to my environment and look for all the business functions available that would be either custom ones that someone wrote here or ones that came with the system. It'll understand the parameters. So if I want to go in and work with sales orders, so I can just dive right into C sales and grab sales order edit, and then basically expose that as an API. So now I can edit and create sales orders very easily without having to say wait for Oracle to develop a solution for that, or try to use the JDE inside of Safari on an iPad. I can just grab the business function I want, say OK, and then do my mappings, which I'll show you in a second, and that creates an API that the mobile device can use through Magic XPA. So give it a second. It's reading that business function. It takes a second for it to log in and do it. It is actually a live demo. In the background, we have an E1 environment. The only way this would work is it actually goes out and it basically does a discovery of it to see what business functions are available. But right now, what it's doing is it's actually reading what parameters exist in this business function. So in here on the right, I'll see the sales order edit business function, and I'll see all the things it requires. Like you can guess it would require the sales order number and type and things like company, and then other parameters that it might make available. And I'll back up and show you a configured one for time reasons. This is one that's actually going to pass data from variables that came in from the iPhone app to the JD business function for creating the address book. So you can see we mapped obvious things like address 1 to address 1. I can see no one mapped address 2, so I'm just going to map address 2 across and get that going. And then maybe we want to shove the the phone number into a field. Obviously, that form I had didn't have a phone number, but if you wanted to bring it over, it's that simple. You can map it across. So you create your mappings. You can also do very complex mappings. Like if you wanted to go ahead and have and use lots of different fields together, you can do that. We do have a wide list of expressions. You just kind of bring multiple values together, dig in and say, hey, I want to use any of these functions we have available, similar to Excel, to transform the data as it comes across. So I can say if the first name is Bob, I don't know why I would do that, use something else. Otherwise, use use another value. So it's just simple expressions like that. It is a code-free environment, so you don't have to know a language. You don't have to know C. You don't have to know Java. You don't have to know any of those in order to be able to do this. It's all visual and wizard-driven. But behind the scenes, you can, if you like to, you can dig and use expressions that would allow you to transform your data and do lookups and things like that that still give you the power of all those outside tools. So the technology stack here is that you have mobile devices out in the wild that can call a Magic XPA server, which is just running on a web server somewhere. And the Magic XPA server defines the behavior of the application, the look and feel, what the data sources are, what it can do, and also it provides you a lot of security as opposed to giving a mobile device 100% access into JDE. It filters what the person can do and gives them just small forms. Like, for instance, if you need to be able to receive POs, instead of training your purchaser how to go and do a full JDE training and pay for a license for them and whatnot, you can just create a simple app that has the 5 fields he needs to be able to submit it and do it in a much easier way on a device that they're more familiar with and is more intuitive and is more mobile. So, and then in the background, that platform calls Magic XPI in order to get to JDE. Now we have adapters for E1. We also have adapters for World. So there's all kinds of adapters that we can use. So actually, before I know I'm running out of time. They're waving at me that we need to move on to the next webinar in a couple minutes. But before we do that, I just want to show some of the adapters that we do have. There's ones for Salesforce, ones for SAP, ones for JDE, ones for Microsoft platforms like Dynamics CRM, and you can use any of these to interact with each other. So you could say hook up SharePoint to JDE, and then also have a mobile element or something like that. So the adapters are very flexible. They give us a very known and secure way to be able to connect to these other systems APIs. So I think I managed to talk myself out of time. If you do have any questions, I don't know if we have time to respond to them now, but we can certainly email you after them. So please type them in the chat, and I'll address what I can now. But anything else above that, we'll just have to. We can contact you directly or just send you an email.
Yeah, you can send us an email as well at info@magicsoftware.com. I want to thank you very much, Ryan, for the great demo, and I apologize for leaving you a little time there at the end. We just kind of had so much to go through. But great session. We're going to continue it with a more deep dive J.D. Edwards demo in the next webinar. So go ahead and go back online and sign up for that webinar if you haven't already. We'll see you there as we talk about J.D. Edwards upgrades. Hope to see you all in Las Vegas at the Magic Software Users Conference. Thanks for joining us today, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon on another Magic Software webinar. Have a great day. Thanks.